Hey everybody, KC here. So, I'm a veteran of the newspaper business. While I didn't work for a very long time in daily newspapers, I've always felt kind of a kinship for print journalism. And before I had Morning Newsbeat, it was the best job I ever had. And I feel like kinship even more acutely because it's a profession that seems to be shrinking with every passing day, but not apparently everywhere. So the New York Times had a story recently about the Star Tribune in Minnesota, in Minneapolis, which is going in the opposite direction. And I quote, "The paper will now be called the Minnesota Star Tribune," its chief executive announced, "and it will use an injection of money from its billionaire owner to expand its coverage beyond the Twin Cities into other parts of the state." Steve Grove, the publisher and CEO, said the push, which includes hiring reporters in various parts of the state, was part of an effort to as much as triple the publication's paid digital subscriptions over the next 5 years. Quote, "It's definitely a bet that Minnesotans care about what's happening outside of their own local communities," he said. Now, see, the Times makes the point that this expansion is sort of rare in the newspaper industry. Local newspapers have been shrinking enormously. 2023 report from the Medill School of Journalism at Northwestern found that almost 2,900 newspapers had closed down since 2005. But the Star Tribune, man, it's a bright spot. It hasn't made major layoffs in a number of years. It has had 225 people working in the newsroom for as long as anybody can remember. And I think this is really heartening. Now, listen, let's be clear. It helps to have a billionaire owner. I think the folks at the Washington Post, which is having its own problems these days, would agree that things at least became a little bit more stable when Jeff Bezos bought the place. It also helps that recent developments in the political world have meant that Minnesota is a little bit more of the center of where things are happening. And depending on how the elections go in November, that could persist for at least another 4 years, maybe 8. But what's really impressive to me is that the paper is refusing to accept the status quo as either being status or quo. Ownership understands that to grow, you have to invest. And to invest, you have to have a clear understanding of both the marketplace and your customers, in this case, their readers. So they're adding news beats all over the state that sort of reflect the priorities and concerns of those readers. It's reorganizing the newsroom around 5 main topics: news and politics, business, sports, food, and the outdoors. And that last one thing is a big one, because even in a place that's polarized, everybody sort of shares a concern about the outdoors. They're just not doing things the way they've always been done. They're trying to rethink every bit of the operation. That's really important, and I think it's a great lesson for retailers. Are there ways that stores could be reorganized in patterns that might be unusual, but that might better reflect the concerns and the priorities of shoppers? Are there savvy investments that could be made by retailers that will allow the business to grow in new directions? Are there innovations that wouldn't just reinvent the store, but actually reinvent how the store interacts with and connects with shoppers? All of these things, it seems to me, are possible. We spend a lot of time here, I should say I spend a lot of time here, bemoaning some of the consolidation that is taking place at the upper echelons of the business and the negative impact that I think this is going to have on competition, employees, and customers. I still believe all that, but I do think that in a lot of ways, retailers anywhere down the food chain could learn a lot by, in this case, quite literally, taking a page from the Minnesota Star Tribune. That's what's on my mind, and as always, I want to hear what's on your mind.